sisterhood. Welcome back to another episode of the Sister Show. We're happy to see you again, and I know you're happy to see us. Today, we'll be talking about the flags that you all love to ignore. The red flags. Here we go. And we're back. So before we get into the show, we have to give a shout out to our sponsors. We're so grateful. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to Glam D Fashion. You can get all of your loungewear at www.glamd.com. We also need to give a shout out to Chrissy Dazzle Design. She was the one who designed our beautiful tumbler cups that we're using today. Also, we have to give a shout out to Jacqueline Marshall for our beautiful earrings that we're wearing. I'll let my sister Svetlana touch on that some more. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
We're fine, thanks.
So,
Hello.
hi. So we're going to get to the earrings in just a moment, but let's deal with the red flag. Chanel?
So we all would have had the experience of looking for that special someone at some special time, whether we're the one looking or people are looking for us. We've had that moment where we saw some things and it caused us to turn up our eyebrows a little, but nevertheless we ignored it and we still went ahead. So let's talk about some. To talk about that, we have two guests with us today. We have Andre and we have Jackie. So we'll start off by talking with Andre. Tell us some experiences of red flags that you've had.
Well, I don't have much experience in the relationship. So the one relationship that I really had, I just ignored it all because I was so in love, you know? And not to get too much into details, but it was those same red flags that I ignored that was, you know, that turned around to like rip me
Bite you in the.
apart. More than bites, more than just a few, bites here and there. It ripped me apart. So I'm a walking, talking example of what happens when you ignore red flags.
So what were some of the red flags that you ignored?
Too many to mention, but let's start with one. One of the red flags we often ignore is the person's upbringing, family structure, and whether there is any kind of discipline that came from the home specifically. And this is both male and females. If you're dealing with a young man that doesn't have a father, that did not discipline him as he was growing up, you're going to have issues with him. If you have, and we hear this a lot for females, if you have a female with daddy issues,
Then they
Bec-
go out there looking for a father.
because female need that affirmation.
Right.
They don't get it from their dad. They go out there, and when you don't give it because they feel as though they need it more than anything else, they leave you and go look for somebody
That's
else
true.
where they get it from. That was one. Ambition, plans, goals, spending habits, money management, uh, how the last relationship end. All of those are huge red flags that I kind of ignored because again I was so in love, and here
Love
I
is
am.
blind.
Sorry,
Love is blind.
my pastor would normally say, if love is blind, then marriage is an eye opener.
Right?
Sure is.
So yeah.
So what was like, I mean, you saw these things and how did you try to take your attention away from it and just pursue your common goal, which is to
Be with a
stay in
person.
love and be in love with this person?
That is a bunch of foolishness. Let me put it this way. If you have issues, you have issues within yourself, and it's so difficult to address the struggles that you have. My address or my approach to that was, oh, it's not a big deal.
Right.
When we get there, I'll deal with it. Or yeah, I'm good enough. I have all that it takes to deal with these issues. So
Or you could
I'll
change
get
the
it. I can
person.
change it, and that's why I said, if you can't change you, what makes you think you can change somebody else?
Right.
In actuality, you can't change anyone.
Can't change anyone, and that's why I said their upbringing. These are the principles and the qualities that the person came with. These are the things that they embraced mentally and otherwise. So thinking that, oh, I can change that, I'm good enough, it's foolishness. That's where I
All
was a
right.
fool.
So let's throw it over to Jackie. Could you tell us some of the red flags you've had experience with?
Okay, one of my major red flag, I would say, was when I got married. And I told my ex-husband, I said I would like to keep my maiden name. And he had a huge block concerning that. That should have been a really major sign for me. But I told myself otherwise, you try to find ways and to find some excuses along the line. The truth
Right.
is, if I had paid attention to it, I would know that this would spiral over to other issues in the marriage.
Right.
And even though we were married for 13 years, eventually
Wow.
we had to go our separate ways because initially the controlling aspect was there, but
Mm-hmm.
that red flag, I chose to ignore it. So that was a major one for me to this day. I look to see because people try to box you in. They want you
Yeah.
to go by their rules and what they want for themselves and without thinking about your feelings, your emotions. Now, I don't know anything about his name. I know about mine. I know the history of it. Why would you want to
Right.
erase that completely? You should have, supported that and be happy that I want to keep my maiden name, that sort of thing.
Right.
Okay, but if I could share an experience, um, I started really having relationships or dating when I got out of high school, 19. And then I told the story in previous episodes about my major breakup with my first, real relationship boyfriend. But then after him, I had another boyfriend. And at first he was very loving and, kind. He said all the nice
Yes.
things, we were comfortable. I took him home. I got the blessings of my family, they liked him
Mm-hmm.
and so on. So he would come over and visit. And then after a while, like everything changed because this guy would be sitting with us. My parents would be there, he would engage them. And the minute, say for example, my mother turns her back and goes to the kitchen or something,
Mm-hmm.
he would flip. It's as though I'm speaking with a, like, don't touch me, like, oh, why you had to say that. He became verbally abusive. And I was like, okay, maybe, probably he was having a bad day. But so I
Mm-hmm.
kind of like ignored that. And then it moved to the indecent language. Now, growing up, I've never heard my parents use indecent language. Never. You understand? That's the type of environment I grew up in.
Right.
And so I'm not accustomed to the big cuss out
Mm-hmm.
and you effing this and you s this. Like, so after a while, he was like, talking to me like this. And I was like, he can change. I could change him. He's the
Mm-hmm.
one. Because I'm trying to really hold on to this relationship to make it work. Because,
Right.
Right.
I had this 25 goal that I must be married by 25. And here am I,
Right. Society.
21, 22 in this relationship. 2, 3 years away from 25. So I
Mm-hmm.
gotta make it work. And
Right.
so
Right.
I was there ignoring this kind of behavior. And it went on for more than a year. And tell you the truth, one day it was so overbearing that I remember we were living in South Colleen and I and some other girls. And so they went to party and I was home and they got home and they teased me. They said they saw him in the club. I don't know if Colleen remember, but they made me cry that day. And then like I went to sleep with that thing on my mind. They said how they saw him in a club, but they were joking. And so I went to bed and I woke up and I had a
Mm-hmm.
dream. So I said, hey, I dreamt this. And guess what? He was like, what you dream? I said, man, I want to tell you to upset you. He said, no, tell me the dream. And so I went ahead, tell this guy the dream. He was like, the same effing thing I was talk about, and this boy cussed me. And let me tell you something. I don't use indecent language, but that day, I said, listen, and I served him well.
Right.
Harry, Lorna, you cuss me. Lorna, you
He should have shot.
And after that, that was the end because he couldn't deal with that opposition.
Right.
And I wasn't going to stick around for anybody to be verbally abusing me. Because the
Right.
next thing it would have been
Physical,
hating.
yeah.
And I ain't about the life.
So, Shimmy, tell us about some of your red flags. We're happy to hear.
I don't even know if I can remember any of those stories. But for me, it's like simple things. This one time, oh God, I was so young. My first relationship that I would have spoken about in also our worst breakup video. It's simple things like I remember when I was dating him and we were living together at the time. And he would say to me, "Oh, I have to run to Walgreens to get something." Just to give you a proximity, Walgreens is like a corner shop. It takes you
Mm-hmm.
no more than 2 minutes to get to. Okay, so he would go at like 7 p.m. at night and come back at 10 p.m. I kid you not. So and then wouldn't answer his phone. So I'm just like, what happened? Where were you? And then he would say, "Oh my God, there was such a line outside of the shop." And I was like, okay. And I believed it. I believed there was a 2.5 hour line at the corner
Mm.
shop. So come to find out, he had another girlfriend who lived a few blocks away from where we lived. So that's where he was. So it's simple things like that I, played a blind eye to and didn't realize that, oh my God, this is more than a red flag. So
Right.
Right.
yeah, just sometimes it's just the little things you gotta be
Look up.
vigilant towards, in my opinion.
True. Colleen, what about you?
Do I have
Oh,
any
there's so
red
many,
flag?
Colleen.
What do you say, Shimmy?
Let me take a
I
sip
said
for
there's
that.
so many over
Compliments of
there.
Christy Dazzle.
Mm-mm. Um, Let me see. My last, no, not my last. Yes, my last relationship. So I was dating this young man, and when you enter into a relationship, men usually tell you things that you want to hear.
True.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is how men sell themselves to a woman.
No
And some
offense,
women.
Right? They tell you all these glamorous things, and we're sold because these are the things that we're looking forward to, and this is what they're going to come and tell us. So we're looking out to see these things play out. And so I would have been promised the world, the moon, the stars, all these things I was promised. And to think the time that we would have started a relationship, he was dealing with another woman. And, he would normally say, "Oh, I just sleep late. I just wake up early." And he would always be on his phone, claiming that he went outside watching a movie. He's not feeling tired. He can come in his bed just now. By the time 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I just wake up early because my body's accustomed to getting up early. So all this time is where he would spend on the phone with this woman. And so he used a trick on me by telling me, "Oh, it was my ex and she has a child and the child doesn't have any father." And so I would have promised her that I would always be in the child's life. But it didn't have nothing to do with her, Colleen. She would just call me for me to speak with the child, but I don't have no
these
conversation with
lies that
her. I
these.
don't communicate with her. Lo and behold, it's a whole story, a whole love, a whole we getting married, you're going and buy the ring for you, and me and this man living together. And so, he came to me and he said these things to me, and I believed him. And when it happened, when I found out the first time, I said, "You know what? It's okay, man. Man, calling man, it's you alone. These things is just talks. It's just road talks. It didn't mean nothing. It's you alone. You're here. You don't see you there here. You there in the house." And
If
so,
only.
I said, "Okay." And, you talk about it, you dealt with it, and then you move on. But then it keeps repeating because that's who the person is. And as Sarah would have mentioned, probably that's his upbringing, probably that's his personality, probably this is how he goes about getting things done or doing whatever it is he has to do by having multiple women. So, yeah, that was my major red
But
flag.
before we go to Chanel, because I'm sure Chanel has a story or two to share, I just want to say that, outside of going out of the relationship, there's also some financial signs. Like, I am big on the way you manage your money. And yes, we say we like to be independent women, and I, consider myself an independent woman. But I also understand the importance of somebody supporting me and me supporting them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, if you're going to, be stingy, as we would say, with the finances outside of the like, when we're just dating, then I don't see how it's going to get better when
Right,
we
right.
marry. If you don't know how to manage your finances, that could also lead to a major breakup, because if
True.
all you want to do is just to live, recklessly, and you sport and you drink, and then you're not building on what you have, like,
Right.
what are we really living for?
I see
Right?
Sir wants to
Yeah,
say
I'm kind
something
of
so bad about this. Let's hear it.
a few things. Based on what you said, uh, there's some statistics that you can use. 83% of persons who got divorced, 83% of the divorce in a particular study that was done in 2015, they cited financial issues as
Yeah.
one of the problems, for their divorce. Yeah, finances is a big deal. Women or the society in general don't really understand how finance or wealth is built. It takes a man necessarily about 35 years to actually build wealth. So when you were looking for a relationship, that's why women mostly date up in
Yeah,
age.
true.
Um, I want to kind of say something. What's Jackie? Is her
Jackie.
name? Um, I was kind of when you said you decided to keep your
Your maiden
maiden
name.
name, and you saw that as a red flag. That can be a red flag for a man too. In that, yeah, it can,
It goes both
because
ways. It goes both ways.
if
Let
Mm-hmm.
if
me hear
I'm
your point.
marrying, I want you to understand. If I'm marrying you, I'm now
Yes.
giving you my seed, my legacy to carry, and you are supposed to be completing me and not competing with me. That's one of the issues we I think we face today as men. We have women who they just compete with us, so not necessarily complete us. And another one of my pastor friend that I listen to, he would often say, in this society we don't necessarily have women, we have men who are capable of making children,
Yes.
because
But
this idea,
We
another
taking on
thing,
men role.
another thing that was said that is a huge red flag, and I'm going to mention a name because I know you guys probably heard of him, don't like him, this guy Kevin Samuels. When a woman
Oh
says that
Lord.
she,
oh, I
I
think I
know,
know him.
I know, when a woman says she's independent, I'm an independent woman, that's a red flag. And you said that earlier. Why? If you're independent, you don't need me.
Independent in the sense that I don't want to be just a stay-at-home mom. I want to be able to contribute equally. I
Understand?
have something to
Being,
offer.
wait,
But then
being
there's
is,
some men, and I've had first, not maybe, I've seen, right? I've seen, because I have friends and I have siblings and so on, where men control, there's no independence. Like, you're not, when I marry, I still want to maintain my identity as a woman.
And your
I'm married to
individuality.
Jude, and we're a
autonomy.
couple, and
Yes.
we're one. But I must be me, in the sense that when I dress, it symbolizes who I am as a woman. Not if I decide that I want to put in a little weave now and then, you're going to come with your controlling mentality and tell me, oh, that's ugly, or why are you using fake hair, or oh, don't dress
And
like that. When in fact, that is what brought you to me in the first place.
exactly.
But then all it's for me with the name, which Jackie mentioned, it could symbolize
Yes.
one. Yes, you want to carry the husband. You want to carry your husband name. I carry my husband name, but I also maintain my level of independence in the sense that I dress. I mean, if he said, "Oh, Svetlana, this dress a little too extra for the occasion,"
What would
but
you do?
no, if it's too, I mean, I would think about it. We will discuss it. We will work around it,
No,
right?
that's a problem, and
No.
you will call it controlling, right? And this is where I will say Because I had an issue like that. I was asked, "Is this okay?" And I said, "Nah, that's not okay." Well, if I can't wear this, I'm not going anywhere.
Well, that's why
So
you
you're
choose
saying
your
let's
partner wisely. But my husband loves the sexiness, so I just get to dash on my body, and he got no
And
objection.
my thing is with the old, or because I was looking at a video from a YouTube channel. The guy was saying when you see a woman, she's dressing all sexy to go out. That's, I'm not saying that you are unfaithful to your husband, but when you are revealing all of the stuff that the man should see, that's a little bit of advertising things that you're not selling.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with you, but we
I
gotta get a next show for that
Yeah.
one, right? With that, sir, and we'll have a little debate. Shirley.
what I want to say too is that like, well, everybody mentioned that it's the simple things that sometimes we tend to overlook. But I remember one time when I used to go to the University of Guyana, the lecturer asked one of the students in the class, what's her name? And she was like, I'm Mrs. Jones. And the lecturer was like, you didn't buy a window. So if today, tomorrow, something happens, God forbid, you are some people give up themselves so much to their husbands that if something happens to him, they don't know how to function, how to move off from that spot. It takes them so long to become reconnected with themselves. And
Because they
that's
forget
what I fear,
themselves.
because they just
Lost themselves.
consume themselves in, oh, this is what he like. I don't have a favorite color, but my husband's favorite color is blue. I don't have this, but my husband said I must do this. Oh no, I can't do my hair like that because my husband said. What about what you want?
All right.
What about what makes you happy? What about what you just choose to do for this moment? Yes, I respect my husband. I wouldn't go selling his stuff on the road or anything. But a part of my sexiness is my features. For me, I like to show these girls because these girls showable. So, for me, red flags is how you talk to me, how you address me. If you have a problem with me asking you not to call me girl, then that's a red flag. I think what we get carried away with a lot of times is this quietness, this subtle, this calmness, this that these men would come with, and they show you all things lovely at first. And I would often say, I don't judge how much you love me by the good things you do for me, because anybody can do good things for people. I judge you by the bad things you choose to do for me, because if you truly love somebody, you wouldn't really do certain things to them. Don't be shouting at me. I don't care for what reason. You get angry, control yourself or find your distance. So I have a problem with your tone of voice. I have a problem with if you might fly in a tantrum and choose to grab my hands or choose to feel like you could give me an eye signal and I must know for get myself in order. No, sweetheart. This ain't the child segment. So,
Okay, can I say something?
sure.
Not funny. Okay. I know there's a male on the panel as well, but
We're not.
there's something
I'm good.
queen
I can take the lashes.
consciousness and broken consciousness. So when we're operating in our broken consciousness, we wouldn't see these red flags from a distance. But when we're operating in our queen consciousness, we're easily able to identify them from a mile, from a distance.
True.
So we make informed decisions, we make informed choices and such like. So those red flags, as we know, they don't turn green, they get worse.
Right.
Yep.
And that's one of the things you hear some people say now, and we hear this a lot in abusive relationships, and it goes either way because men suffer abuse
too.
verbally, physically, emotionally, and even financially to some extent. But sometimes, in the case of physical abuse and verbal abuse, and the older folks, they may not agree with me, but they see a couple together 5, 10 years, 15 years, they're married. They know that this relationship is toxic. They know that things could only get worse. And you hear, hold on, we went through it. You
Yeah,
know,
we went through
you
worse
think
than
your
the.
father easy, you
Mhm.
know?
And that's society. That's society for me. And I would always say that society causes a lot of the rough experiences that we have sometimes. It's because we're trying so much to do what society has taught us.
Correct.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want running from man to man,
Yeah.
so try and walk with it. Oh, we gonna change. Oh, you this, you that. But no, if you spot it from the inception, as everybody's saying, it wouldn't get better. It would only get
Haynes
worse.
want to say something
Yes,
and maybe
sir.
we could bring a Shanice
I
out.
have a lot of things to say.
Represent, let's hear.
One, name one relationship that does not have a red flag in it. Or two, um, name one relationship that did not have struggles and trials, and you're seeing some shortcomings, character defects, something in the man, in the woman. You see, you said, the older folks would say, hold on, because we've been there. I'm thinking that older folks had more mess, female, to deal with than women of this day and age. Why? Because older folks, like can't give example. So I've known grown folks and husbands were cheating, had other women, had outside children,
Mm-hmm.
and they dealt with that because their
Because they
value
were
system was my
dependent.
family. Not necessarily.
I have one
Not
answer to that.
necessarily.
My answer to that is pick your struggles wisely. I choosing who I want to struggle with and why I want to
You
struggle
are
with
going
this
to struggle
person.
with anybody.
That's
I
why I'm
agree.
I
saying I
agree.
am picking my struggles wisely. So is this struggle struggleable? Or this is too much of a burden to fetch? Okay, I could try with this one here. This one, somewhere along the line I can adjust or I can compromise. But some you definitely cannot compromise with.
Mm.
Like nobody's
Which,
perfect. We all have
Have
red
issues,
flags. We
yeah.
all give red flags at some point in
Right.
time.
yeah, yeah,
But the reality is the matter is what do I choose to accept and
Or
what I
work to
choose
improve.
that is
or
correct.
work to
Mm-hmm.
improve.
But I
There
think
must
I
be a
think
willingness to
all of
improve.
that all of that can be avoided. Oh, why? What is your vetting process before you have relationship with these guys?
And
Or
girls.
before you have relationship with these women?
Well, you see, that vetting process, we really can't trust it these days because people are so
There's
skillful at
no
creating a
guarantee.
whole facade for themselves,
Right. Placing an entire
especially this thing that
illusion.
calls
Mm-hmm.
social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't take.
So, Jackie, for those of you who are watching us today, Jackie is joining us all the way from Barbados. She's Guyanese by birth. And Jackie, tell us a bit about, briefly about yourself and how you got involved with decor and accessories, creating these beautifully made accessories.
Okay, my name is Jacqueline Marshall, and I migrated to Barbados in 2001. The time is going by so quickly, you get confused with the years. So it was 2001. I was at the university at the time, studying for my degree in education, and then tragedy happened, and I decided to give over here a try. Fast forward to how I got started in this business. As Sevlana would know, our beloved sister passed. Her name was Shonda Marshall, and I went into a deep depression. I started crafting as a way to use it as therapy
Mm.
to get out of that hole because depression is so horrible. I would wish it on no one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I realized that the crafting was assisting me. And I went from one extreme to the next. It's like I got onto an artistic train. Prior to that, I was sent to the National School of Dance in 1997. So I've had the influences like the late Andres O'Brien. I want to give credit to those people. I don't want to make it seem like I just pop out from nowhere. This was in the making. All
Mm.
that I've done before led me to this path, and it prepared me for where I am today. So it was an entire journey up to where I am as we speak. So far, I am into unique, customized handcrafted pieces. As you can see, this one is a crochet earring, and I can go really extra. Uh, I also have bags, throw cushions, and face masks. The other aspect of decor plus and metalwork, we deal with welding, as the name suggests, and building of walk-in freezers and such like.
Okay, so
So
Jackie, I know that you're
go ahead.
located in Barbados, but you also supply Guyana, the Guyanese market, sorry, as well. You export to the US and other parts of the Caribbean. Tell us how persons could get in contact with you to purchase your products.
Okay, getting to Guyana is no problem at all. We have connections in Bartica, obviously, because that is where I'm from originally, and Linden, of course, Georgetown as well. So getting the products, the customers over there is no problem. The only thing they will probably have to wait probably a time frame of 2 weeks. In
Okay.
a case of an emergency, we can get to you in a few days as well. And the same goes for the US and any part of the Caribbean. I'm mostly on Facebook, so you can contact me by inbox. You send me a message, your information, and I get the stuff to you.
Thank you so much. So over to Shamisa as she wraps up. We want to say thank you to Andre Haynes
Yes.
and Jacqueline Marshall for joining us on today's show.
And thank you for
Shamisa?
having me. I really
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. This has been a great show. We hope to have both of you back because we would love
Definitely,
to hear more of
Andre.
your. Yeah, I would love to hear more from Andre on his opinion on different topics. Thank you guys for looking at the Sister Show. If you haven't already, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our new channel. I know we've had several channels before in the past, but unfortunately those channels are terminated. So do us a favor and click subscribe again. We'll see you next Sunday at 7 p.m. We love you for watching. Bye.
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 Thank you so